Hey everyone, you're watching a recap of the 2022 Three Springs Enduro, hosted in Three Springs, Pennsylvania by the Green Marble Enduro Riders. This event's part of the ECEA Championship Series. It's one of 16 or 17 Enduros this year. I'm racing in the B250 class. I'm on row number 5, one of the earliest rows. And I'm on a line with people I don't know. In front of me is, I think his name is, Travis Ellsworth. He's racing the Open. I always look at who I'm on a row with if I don't know their name. Mostly because I'm a little overly excited, but also it's a little bit easier to sort out who goes first. He and I are pretty similar speeds, so as I said in one of my other videos, I like to let someone faster than me, or even if the same speed as me roughly, I like to have them go first to help set the pace. And then of course, right here, made a little mistake and I made the pass. So now I'm setting the pace. Before I get into it, I want to say this Enduro is awesome. I really, really love the trails here. It's 4.5 hours from my house, so it's tough to muster up the willpower to actually make the drive. 9 hours of driving in 2 days is not really my thing, but it is well worth it. Now, at this event, I feel I rode very well, but there were some incidents toward the end of the day that caused me to not perform, and I'll talk about that towards the end of the video. About this event is the constant elevation change and the navigation through tighter trees. This is not ultra tight. There are moments that, like what you just saw, but you know, compared to some of the trails in Jersey, it's not ultra tight. But this is, you know, you gotta pay attention to where you're putting your front wheel. Meanwhile, we're also off camber and side hilling. It may not look like we are doing that from the camera, but some of these hills really are steep, and all we're riding on basically is the trail is a step in the side of the hill. It also poured the day before. It's been super dry. This event was on August 4th, I think. I don't know, whatever Sunday. Well, the first Sunday in August. And oh yeah, trails just like this. You know, I'm doing everything I can to not slide off the trail. It rained. It actually downpoured the day before on Saturday, and you know that made so obviously pretty slick, but it drains super well here, as I'm sure you can imagine by the side of this hill. The water just flows off, so it's not like we're getting pools of mud pits or anything like that. It's just you have to pay attention to where you're putting your wheels. They always put us through like this junkyard. I always wonder how all this stuff piles up. You know, like, okay, tires, that's pretty common, especially on or around farms. But like cars, ATVs, all sorts of other scrap. How does it end up here? I guess the answer is like 100 years of people just dumping their crap in the woods. So I don't know, I thought I was recording for every section, but there were, I don't know exactly what happened, but I only have in full the first few sections, and the second half of the day, or at least the last 2 or 3 sections, are almost entirely missing, or just entirely missing. And there you go, my rear wheel is starting to slide down the hill. So I don't have as much footage as I would have liked. Plus, at some point my camera kind of just changes position, and lots of the footage is just like the camera pointing at my gas can, or gas tank. Tiptoeing down the hill. Probably could have taken that a little bit faster, but... assuming you're able to ride this trail year-round.
Oh my god. That was tough. Thank you!
Now we're looking at section 2. At this point, I'm starting out first on the line, so I'm doing a little bit better on this off-camber stuff than Travis, the other guy on my line. But he's going to get me on one of the sections coming up. I think section 3, he smokes me. Yeah, so I figured out why I'm stalling. It's actually so I use the Pro Taper XPS clutch lever, and there's a little dial to adjust the lever reach. But when you adjust the lever reach, you also have to adjust the tension on the cable. Well, actually, on the dial that I just referred to, there are detents, so the dial stays put when you adjust the reach to where you want it. I think those detents have worn out, because when I set it to my preferred position, and then I pull the clutch lever a few times, the dial moves. So it's actually messing up my clutch cable adjustment. When I pull in the lever, the clutch is not fully disengaging. I guess I'll just have to get a new lever. But I'm getting a new bike, so maybe not. We dropped into this creek bed, and this is always fun. The last time I did this event was 2 years ago. I remember the creek bed section from that. I assume they throw it in every year, because why not? I was getting kicked around a little bit. The front was pretty good, but the rear was a little bit too stiff. I'm still figuring it out. I just got my suspension revalved. It needed a service anyway, but it was way, way, way too soft for Jersey stuff. You know, the fast whoops. Yeah, there were a couple spots where I was really getting kicked around. So this hill, a couple years back, I remember approaching it and there were just like probably 6 bikes strewn about. Yeah, there's no run up, and I think it was even slicker that year. But this is definitely section 3. I'm starting out first, and you'll see this section start was a little, there was just something about it that was tricky. I think it was just like the slight off camber and being on an early line actually. Some of the new trail that they marked wasn't really quite burned in. It had been ridden a little bit, but ruts hadn't really fully formed. Travis did pass me in that section, and I was slowly catching up to him, and here I am, right behind him. but I also got roosted in the only mud pit in the entire race. I may have been the only person covered in mud at the end of the event. So this is what I'm talking about. On these trails, you gotta be super, super careful. Somehow he ended up off the trail. He probably just slid down when he was coming downhill. He probably just slid off the trail just a little bit. But once your rear end goes, it really does start to go, and it's hard to get back up. And shortly thereafter, there's my crash. Braked a little too hard, rear slid out, and now we're looking at my chin. Okay, this is section 4 actually. And something happens here. I knew it was gonna happen. You just gotta wait. Boggin. I know exactly what's happening right now. Yeah, and I have an opening here just to pause for a second. So, my fuel was off. And you heard me say it right there. I knew it was going to happen. I was leaking fuel out the overflow when I was waiting for my start at the section. So I turned off my gas and forgot to turn it back on. I do that all the time. And obviously Travis and the other rider, I think it was his dad actually, got past me. I don't think I ever catch up. This was the section where he really, really smoked me. I mean, this is a Rocket Raceway section. So Rocket Raceway MX track is right beside us, like just outside the woods. And I assume this is also Rocket Raceway property. There's a lot of existing trail here, but they also cut a lot of new trail. And for that reason, a lot of it is not burned out at all. It's, you know, leafy, still side hilling, but there's no... there's a bunch of junk on top of the soil. Branches, leaves. So this is an area where it really, I think, would have benefited to be on a later line. But, you know, there are other benefits to being on an early line too, so... It's a tough call to make. Yeah, lots of that section I just didn't show because the camera's just facing my fuel tank. But it was actually a really long section. I think it took me 26 minutes to get through or something like that. I don't know how many miles, but it was probably like a good 7-mile section. Travis go ahead. Clearly it took me a little bit to catch up to him, but another rider had dumped his bike, like, at the creek entrance here, and then Travis had a bad line, I guess. Almost went over the bars, it looked like, and I was like, okay, do I wait or do I go around? I tried to go around. It was obviously a worse line, and by that time Travis had gotten out of the way. I don't know if I should have waited, but yeah, it's always tough to decide what to do in those scenarios.
Fuck you!
And you really didn't get a good look at it because of the camera angle. Oh yeah, I swear at the trail all the time when I ride. But we actually blew a turn and had to backtrack downhill slightly. Well, we only blew a turn by like 25, maybe 40 feet at most. So we had to backtrack, and the fastest way, if you didn't fall like Travis, the fastest way was just directly through the woods real quick. So I got a pretty decent line to get back on the trail, but Travis like hit a log or something, which just totally took him down. This navigating through trees, off-camber stuff, I just love it. Now here is where stuff starts to go wrong. Alright, there goes my handguard. So, the handguard mount had a huge crack in it. I've been using these handguards for a year and a half. They're awesome. They're SXS slide plate burly guards. I love these guards. They just updated their mount, so the new mount is a little bit more burly. And yeah, I think chances of actually developing a crack and breaking will be less likely. That aside, some stuff really starts to happen in Section 6. I mean, I take this broken handguard as a sign of things to come. Well, I have another clip, which I'll stick at the end of this video, totally explaining what happened in the fix, but basically, one of the bolts of my subframe sheared off completely, and so my subframe was rocking back and forth like a seahorse. A seahorse? No, a seesaw. Not a seahorse, Jesus. And yeah, it was like almost unrideable. I had to come up with a fix and get back on the trail to do Section 7, which is the AB split, the rockiest and hardest section of the day. Fortunately, I did just that, but I lost a lot of time. I only just finished Section 7 before houring out, so I finished 4th for the day. I only had 5 riders in my class, one of them didn't finish. That puts me in 3rd for the championship this year so far. I got my championship points. I'm just happy that I got that much out of it. Super fun event. Thank you to my sponsors, SRT, Leatt, BikeGraphix, ODI, Mika Metals, ODI Grips, DT1 filters, Fasstco, and that's it. See you in the next one.
I'm
not going to be up your ass because the pace is perfect. Like, I like the pace. I don't want to override that.
In the middle of Section 6 at Three Springs Enduro, I felt my seat start to move back and forth, and I thought that maybe the seat bolts here had come out, and I was losing my seat. So I, tried grabbing it with my legs, whatever, just to keep the seat on, and then I would fix it at the end of the section. Well, I realized later that the the subframe bolt, the top bolt, it's a really, really long one that goes across here, like this. And it had sheared completely off. And you can see in there that the threads are still in there. Hopefully it's easy to get out. Hopefully I won't have to drill it, but I ended up sticking this Allen key through, obviously moving the subframe up into position, moving it, placing it through, and then safety wiring it a bunch of times. It worked. I didn't really go fast after that, but it worked.